welcome to the Steamdeck. My name is Ricky. Today we're going to be testing Helldivers 2, and we're going to be running it on the channel's main test bench, running on the Ryzen 5 3500X paired with 16 gigabytes of RAM, running on dual channel with DOCP Profile 1 enabled, which brings the speed of the memory up to 3200 megatransfers per second. And I'm pairing it with an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070. This is the Asus Strix model of the card. The card is running on NVIDIA's 576.40 driver. And here are the rest of the specs on Tech Power-Up's GPU Z. Alright, very good. So I'm starting off the game. I restarted off by setting up the game back to default, which brings the display settings when it comes to the render scale up to ultra quality. We have a custom graphics setting which puts a lot of the settings on high and medium, but in order to stay consistent, I'm going to switch it over to the low settings, and we're going to go ahead and compare it to between the low settings, the ultra settings, and the Steamdeck settings to kind of make it similar to the test with the that I had with the 1660. If you guys want to check that out, because if you guys are interested in getting 1070, you can also consider the 1660 Super as an option. In spite of the fact that it has a little bit less VRM, it is a faster card, so it kind of balances it out. But we're gonna go ahead and compare that in the match. I'm gonna try my best to get all the results within the same match.
Between the Illuminate and managed democracy's heart, Helldiver.
Hopefully it's not too dark. Hopefully it's not too dark. Okay. Not bad. Alright, very good. So we're gonna go ahead and start.
Deploying equipment package.
Alright, let's go. Let's go.
Bag's empty.
Alright, very good. Should be enough. Let's go ahead and switch it over to the ultra settings.
Delivering payload.
Run away!
Allied destroyer joining squadron, deploying Helldiver to combat zone.
Not today! Reinforcing!
Alright, I guess we're gonna have to switch to the Steamdeck settings now.
Ready to move.
Calling down a support weapon.
Alright, so let's go ahead and pull up the results. And here are the results for Helldivers 2, with an average of 73.7 on the low settings, which then goes down to 37.9 on the ultra settings, and then the Steamdeck settings bring it up to 60.1. Overall, definitely I would still stick to the Steamdeck settings just like before. I'm going to leave a comparison to the 1660 Super and the 1070 just so you guys can get an idea of their difference. And do keep in mind the fact that it is a different map, so the numbers are going to be a little bit different to when you actually go in, but overall, okay, great. Well, that's good to know. So that's what's going on right now in the war effort, and that's the cool thing about this game, is continually evolving and the war keeps going. So that's why every time I come back, the war is different, and I'd fight different people. Now there's a little bit more of like city warfare that they've added. So overall, I think Helldivers 2 is a great title. So this is pretty great. Overall, I recommend Helldivers 2. And as far as I can tell, this system can run the game pretty well. I hope you guys find this useful. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye bye. Hi guys, welcome to the Nantum Tech. My name is Ricky. Today we're going to be testing Marble Rivals, running the card on NVIDIA's 576.40 drivers. And we're going to go ahead and test Marble Rivals. And since we're testing the hardware combination, to keep the test simple, I'm going to go ahead and restore the default, which actually turns on FSR on quality and both frame generation and NVIDIA reflex low latency disabled. And it sets up the default at medium. So we're going to test this settings, and then we're going to switch to low and ultra settings to compare the difference in terms of FPS. And I'm going to try my best to only take the sample of the FPS inside of the match.
The right heroes could make all the difference.
All right, very good. Let's see.
Someone's got to guard the galaxy. Might as well be me.
Has a little bit of a hard time loading some of the textures sometimes. Even though it's all cel shaded, I mean, I'm surprised how hard it is to run this game.
It's time to do the right thing. Just gotta figure out what that is.
They'll be coming in 30 seconds. Stay strong. The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You have to stop them from securing the mission area.
Alright, here we go. Let's go ahead and start counting. I think this should give us enough of an idea of how medium settings run. And then we're going to go ahead and change it to, let's go low setting.
Only 60 seconds left.
It's so much easier when you're just fighting AI.
Another epic victory. Big win.
Alright, very good. And we're going to have on a different match for the ultra settings. Alright, so we're switching over to ultra settings.
They'll be coming in 30 seconds. Stay strong.
And here we go. Let's start counting. Alright. Alright, very good. I think that was about enough in terms of testing the ultra settings. Alright, here we go. So here's the results. And with a 51 average on the medium settings, that's definitely how I would run the game. But low settings does pull up ahead with 67.5 on the average. The 1% low stays pretty consistent. And ultra settings looks good, but with this kind of system I would probably avoid it, falling down to 40.3 in terms of FPS. So if you're going to go the system with a 3500X, because the results are consistent and very similar to something like a 1660, so like a 1660 Super, 1660 Ti, RX 6600 would be similar in terms of performance. I'm going to be testing the RX 580 so you guys next week, so you guys can get an idea of the kind of performance difference that you can get, because as far as I've noticed recently, usually the RX 580 stays somewhere between the $55 and $75 range, and the 1070 stays between the $80 and $100 range inside the US on eBay. So it's not a big difference, but I just want to try to showcase the fact that if it's available, you should try to go for the 1070. Overall, I thought the performance was pretty great. I would definitely run the game on medium settings, but low settings does give you a little bit of a performance edge. Unfortunately, if you're looking for a high refresh rate experience, this system is not going to be enough. In any case, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye bye for now. It's Ricky. Today, we're going to be testing Elder Scrolls Oblivion, the remastered. I'm pairing it with the latest drivers available to the card, which are NVIDIA 572.83. Very good. I actually just started playing Oblivion. I'd never played these games before. I got into Bethesda games with Fallout, so I never really checked out Oblivion before. And based on the performance that I've been getting on the tests that I've been running, I think this is gonna have to be a controller game, so we're gonna stick to that. So very good. All right, onto the settings. So we're running on 1080p. We're gonna start off on low settings. We're gonna start off on the low settings preset. And
remember, trespassing in the Imperial Palace is a serious crime. Do not venture beyond the first and second floors.
well, thank you for that. Well, at least in here we're getting 52, so that's pretty good. 61 over there. Let's go ahead and turn on the average frame rate. And so I want to point you guys over to the version of the layout that I'm going to be using that I'm going to be switching on from now on. So I'm sticking to the same components that I usually measure, which are both the CPU and GPU, the temperature, the percentage allocated to the game, the frequency, and the wattage. But I also incorporated the average frame rate chart, which gives us a visual line of how the game is running. And obviously we want that line to be as stable as possible, but I really like how it visualizes the stability of the game. So we'll see if I incorporate that as a regular measurement. Wait, I forgot the name of this city. I'm still new to this game, so I don't even know what the name of this city, but I am planning on playing this game, so I'll definitely find out. I guess this is one of those games where exploration is big. Can we go outside over here? Arboretum, scissor. Not bad. The game looks really good, and I'm surprised that they can make the game look so modern, despite of the fact that it's running on the Creation Engine. So that's pretty cool. I really hope Bethesda decides to do this to Fallout 3. I think Fallout 3 would be so great with a fresh coat of paint. Ideally, fixing some of that dialogue would be nice too, but beggars can be choosers at this point. How do I get out of the city? Imperial Temple District. So far, at least inside the city, it's been pretty good. 60. Wait, it's gonna become nighttime now. Let's see. How do we wait? Oh, let's see. Can I set up a marker outside of the city? So this is not gonna take us outside of the city. I see. That's how you wait. Now I understand the whole reference of Fallout 3 being Oblivion with guns, because it really does feel like Fallout 3. I love it. Let's see. How do we get out of the city?
It's you. You have my ear.
It's okay, sir. I'm not interested in talking to you right now. Imperius Talos Plus. It's staying pretty stable at 60 the whole time for now. And here we go. And it's raining too. So we'll see if there's a difference between rain performance. 42 FPS. That's more like it. So it is a pretty tough game to run. 98 utilization. Let's wait and see if maybe after waiting it will stop raining. Maybe it'll be daytime again too. I still don't even know what the day cycle looks like over here. If it's this, because I don't think this takes place on Earth. I'm not even sure about that. No spoilers in the comments, by the way, guys. I'm planning on playing the game. It doesn't seem like rain affects the performance of the game, but there is a noticeable difference between the city and outside of the countryside. So let's go ahead and switch it over to we're on low. See what happens if we go to medium. I see. Averages go down to 41, 42 outside. It does look better.
You have my ear. Ow.
I guess we can just repeat the same cycle over here, going in and out of this gate. With a setup like this, high settings will probably be as high as I will go. But let's go ahead and fast forward, wait for a little while, and see if we can get daytime lighting back. I'm probably going to have to restart the game because this isn't going to be good for my character. Wait, still nighttime. So you can go to all of those places. I can't wait to see that. Alright, very good. Still averaging 31 outside. Let's go ahead and wait for a little while longer and see if we can get a more daytime lighting over here. Honestly, with controller, it feels pretty good at 40 FPS. So this is definitely going to be a controller game if you're going to be running it on a system like this. Because I feel like you're probably going to need something pretty powerful to get it to go above 60. And if input lag is something that really bothers you, or you really... Because even when I switched to mouse and keyboard, I don't know, I still think it's pretty good. But again, it is a matter of personal preference, and if 60 FPS is something that you need to have the game be considered playable, then unfortunately no, you're not going to be able to get that.
You have my ear, citizen.
But now I'm curious, can we get it to 60 FPS? Let's lower the resolution.
Coin for an old beggar?
52, 53.
Speak.
No. So even lowering, even bringing it back to the low settings after letting all the shaders compile and everything, it doesn't seem to be bringing it back up to 60 FPS. What if we bring it down to 720p? Well, the game doesn't look as great. Well, there we go. 62, 64. Not bad. We were just getting 40 around here. So if you want to get closer to 60 FPS, you can consider lowering the resolution to 720p. Not bad. Personally, I wouldn't. I do think the 1080p version looks much better. And for me, 45 FPS is perfectly fine, because this seems kind of like one of those story-driven games that you're not really running around. Like, that I don't think you really need the higher FPS, but it never hurts. So, well, if you have a 1070 system where you're planning on building something like this, you can run this game, but it's going to be a little difficult to get it up to 60 FPS. Overall, I think the experience is pretty good, but it's better with a controller. So I do recommend that if you can. With that, this was the benchmark for Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. And my character looks kind of like me without a beard. So bad. Alrighty, guys. Have a nice day. Today, we're going to be testing Cyberpunk 2077. And I'm running it on NVIDIA's 576.52 at the time of recording. I want to try to stay within a similar test to what I did last week, so I can kind of give you guys a comparison between building a system like the 7th gen system, building a system as opposed to building something like this with a 1070. The reason that I feel like that's relevant is because the motherboard and CPU on the 6th gen i7, it's roughly the same price as something like this, as like a 3500X. So even though I do recommend for you to build in an office PC, you have to be careful at this point as far as how old are you going to build. The reason I say that is because a lot of old industrial hardware runs out of older computers. So there's a point in which hardware starts becoming more expensive because there's less of it and they're no longer being made. So in my opinion, at this point in 2025, this is kind of like the meta of the bare minimum that you should be building in terms of if you're going to be building a custom gaming PC. And the AM4 platform is a great option. The only problem with the AM4 platform is that if you're going to go for a brand new motherboard, I don't know, something like a B450, B550, like the ones that are available out there for Gigabyte, you're going to have to use a 5000 series CPU in order for it to work. Otherwise, you're going to have to flash the BIOS in order for you to be able to get an older AM4 CPU to run. I'm running it out of an A320 motherboard, which is a pretty low-end motherboard, so it's not really something I would recommend. If you can try to go for something a little bit higher end, that's always better. But if you go for a 300 series motherboard, then a 300 series motherboard would actually come with the BIOS pre-installed for you to be able to use 1000 to a 3000 series AM4 CPU. So an option that you could consider would be something like a 3500X, 2600, 3600. They vary in price, but they're more or less similar in performance. There is quite a bit difference between the 3500X and the 3600, because the 3600 has more threads, but it does operate at the same frequency. So it's something that I definitely want to look into and see if I get a comparison between those two with a budget motherboard like this. AM4 opens up the door to just have multiple upgrade paths. Now, in order for me to keep the test similar to what I've done in the past, I'm gonna run the built-in benchmark with 3 settings. The settings that I've been running on most of my games are the low settings versus the ultra settings, and I'm also comparing it to the Steamdeck settings. And the reason that I do that is because all the systems that I have are all below the price of a Steamdeck. So it's kind of the comparison of what you can get out of a desktop PC compared to having a Steam Deck. So that's kind of what I want to compare it to. An older graphics card like this is not going to be able to do any ray tracing, so that's why I think they kind of compare. So considering the fact that the Steam Deck comes with an AMD APU, so it's something for you to consider. Also, this is my last weekly update for Nonentum Tech. From now on, I'm only going to start testing whenever I have games that I find interesting, but I'm not going to have a set schedule anymore. But I'm always going to be available in the comments if you guys have questions about PC building or settings or optimization or how to get more FPS out of your game. So yeah, so in any case, let's go ahead and get started with the built-in benchmark, and I'm going to show you guys the ones I'm going to show the best result, but I'm going to run all 3 tests and just give you guys the results after we're done. So we're going to get started with the Steam Deck settings, and here we go. Pretty great, definitely a big improvement from the RX 580. I'm gonna try to load back into a previous point in the game where we can drive around and.
Howdy, Night City. Welcome back. My guest tonight is Lieutenant Sarah.
Okay, very good. So now that we're in Night City, I'm gonna go ahead and run a custom benchmark run that would include some driving, especially going around the motorcycle, and then we're gonna go to our apartment, and then and we'll see what kind of results we get in the actual game itself, including some driving. All right, let's take a look. I'm gonna go ahead and start counting, and here we go. All things considered, I think it's pretty great. The game has been well optimized at this point, and by this point, all the original issues with stuttering and stuff like that Cyberpunk is known for are pretty much taken care of. And the game runs really well. As of now, I've been able to successfully run it out of pretty low-end systems. And I mean, the first system that I ran it with the Basside system, you're stretching the definition of running it, because we struggled to reach 30 FPS out of that. But with 81 FPS on the 1070 3500X combination, I think this is definitely where we start moving away from the Steam Deck settings and then just go into the high settings, which is how I usually run the game. in this particular system, I just lock it at 60 and just play like that all day. That way I get a little bit of thermal headroom. I never really like to push my hardware to the limit all the time. But with this, I just kind of want to show you guys the sort of like the best and also worst case scenario with in AM4. The motherboard that I have it's very low end. The motherboard that I have doesn't have the port for an M.2 SSD, so we're running the game out of slower speeds. In spite of that, the performance is pretty respectable, all things considered. And factoring for US prices, this system cost me about $430 to put together. So I think it's a great option to get yourself started in PC building. And the good thing is that this opens up the door for future upgrades that you can kind of do. You can sort of consider a graphics card like the RTX 2060, for example. I believe would run pretty well with this, or an RX 5700 XT. Alright, very good. So that's going to be the run for Cyberpunk out of the 3500X. Thank you so much for watching. So if you're curious about other hardware, you can check out my videos. I've tested multiple combinations of hardware at this point. In any case, thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Bye for now. Hi guys, welcome to the Steamdeck. My name is Ricky. We're going to be following up on the request of one of the comments. And yes, we can do reload on all low settings. I'm going to try to test the maximum FPS that we can get in reload out of the 3500X. With Fortnite, when you're running in performance mode, you have to focus on the CPU. So we're going to be testing the Ryzen 5 3500X, testing reload specifically. And we're going to be running it on performance mode, starting off the run on high settings, sitting at the 3D resolution at 100%, view distance on epic, texture set to epic, and meshes set to high. Alright, here's the problem with testing reload. Reload is chaos, and it's so hard to stop and change settings. Alright, so let's do this part without camera. It's a good place. Not that many people. You can hide around here. Try to do it quickly before the first storm circle starts building to make it even. Alright, here we go. So, here's high settings. Now switching to custom settings, 75% 3D resolution, medium and medium on textures and view distances. Just for a couple of seconds. Try to keep it as consistent as possible. Now switching to low settings. 50% 3D resolution. Okay, great. High settings. Alright, very good. So now we're going to go ahead and switch to the low meshes. Because you have to switch to low you have to come back to the lobby to switch to low meshes. We start up low meshes, 3D resolution at 100%, view distance, and everything else on epic. So starting off the run on low meshes, high settings, 100% 3D resolution, view distance and textures on the epic. Try to avoid fighting, I'm just looking at the distance. Now medium settings. Run away, go this way. Alright, try to put low settings over in the air. Okay. Oh, I'm such an idiot, I had this right here. I said this. Fight on low settings. Fight on the high settings. Very nice. So hopefully that gives you guys an idea of how Fortnite Reload runs on the 3500X. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye bye. Today we'll be testing Arc Raiders. I'm running it with the latest.
Go to checkpoint. Let's head home at the cliffside air shaft.
Manual override active. Emergency protocols bypassed. Keep your distance. All path is safe for transport radar.
Okay, so that concludes the benchmark run for Art Raiders, running on the GTX 10 on the GTX 1070. I would say if you are building a system that you're gonna base around a 1070, or if you already have a system with like a 1070 or something for that matter, yeah, you can play Art Raiders. It runs pretty well. In any case, I hope you guys find these useful. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye bye for now.
All it's supposed to